Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. This is Jeff with Fluent American checking in again because today we are targeting your pronunciation once again. You will notice that I'm in a slightly different place because we are in the middle of visiting some family because there was a holiday in the US. So I don't have my normal setup, don't have my normal mic and things like that. So you guys can let me know if you're having trouble hearing me or anything like that. But like I said earlier, we're targeting your pronunciation today. So I have posted a link to a Google Doc, and you will see there you can add your own audio file, and we will be listening to them, providing some feedback based on what we hear to give some suggestions and things like that for your pronunciation and things like that. Of course, if as we go through this, if you have some questions about English pronunciation, life, anything like that, you can also post them in the chat box as well, and we will be happy to assist you. Um, got some friends here as always. Emmanuel's here. Great to see you, man. Thanks for checking in with the stream. Of course, if you're also seeing the stream and you're a regular, thank you for stopping by. And if you're not, this is your first time seeing us, then welcome. This is a great opportunity for you to get some real quick feedback on your own pronunciation. So like I said, this is the document where you can submit your file. Basically, you can go to a website like vocaroo.com. Once there, you can record yourself saying something. They will give you a link, and you can put the link into the document. And the sentence that we're going to look at today is going to be this one right here. Okay, so there's lots of little things about this sentence that I think are great for reviewing for pronunciation purposes in American English, and we'll talk about all of those as well. All right, so the way, firstly, I would say this sentence is I would say, the city isn't even all that dirty. The city isn't even all that dirty. So let's really quick talk about some stresses. I think your heaviest stress, I would really try to put on the last word, dirty. Dirty isn't even all that dirty. In terms of your first stress, if you have two stresses, I think city would be a logical place to put your second stress. Like the city isn't even all that dirty. So something like that. So you're stressing again on city, heavier stress on dirty. Those would be my recommendations. Hello to Denny checking in. That's great. I'm feeling well. Spending some time with family, which is always great to do. Hope you guys are enjoying your weekend as well. If anything exciting is happening, be sure to let me know. What are you guys up to this weekend? Tell me some things. So besides that, for stresses, what else is going on here in pronunciation wise? Let's work backwards from the word dirty. So some things we're going to be paying attention to with this word when we listen to your files is I'm going to be listening to your T sounds. Okay, so if you're saying dirty, there's nothing wrong with that. It has more of a British influence, what I would say. Anytime you have like an RTY combination, you're more likely to pronounce that with a fast D or a flap T type sound. Okay, so it's more like a D. It's like dirty, dirty. Okay. So I'm going to be paying attention to that. I'm going to be paying attention also in dirty to make sure that that last long I sound is long enough. You want to make sure that it's doing like an E. If it turns into like like dirty, dirty, or sounds like that, it's a little bit too weak. You want to make sure your long I sound stays stressed because we're going to be listening for that as well. Okay. In fact, Emmanuel's noting that I sounds, lots of I sounds. I sounds for days. Yeah, there's tons of I sounds. Some of them are influenced by R's. So for instance, again, like dirty. So it's like more dir. But yeah, there's plenty. And that's actually why we kind of picked this sentence, because what I often see with students is that for words where you have a short I that is followed by a long I, so for instance, a word like city, what often happens is students struggle with that. There's a tendency to make both of those vowels long vowels. So instead of saying like a word like city, you get more seedy. Or if you get hyper focused on the short I, then it's a tendency to reduce the long I. It's like city and things like that. But really, again, the sound should be city, city. Oh, also Douglas is here. Douglas was our winner of our Wednesday giveaway this week. So he's been spending some time with us in our Telegram group. Which you can join as well by going to patreon.com/fluentamerican. If you're trying to get corrections like this pretty much every single day of the week, I definitely recommend checking out our Telegram group. If you go to patreon.com/fluentamerican, you can join. I hope Douglas has been Having a good time. It's been great hearing his pronunciation, giving some suggestions and things like that. I think he's doing great, especially on like placement. But great to see you here, Doug. Okay, so we talked a little bit about how to say city. We talked about dirty. We talked about stresses. What else is going on here? Let's talk really quick about the word all. So notice that when I say all, I'm not doing like all. I'm not sure if you can see, I'm not really raising my tongue up, right? I'm not doing all. I'm doing all. Okay, so what you're really doing is just kind of raising the back of your tongue a bit, lowering the front again, like this ah type sound. Ah. So the L's, typically when you see A-L or A-L-L, for those types of combinations, you're usually not going to pronounce those L's. So just a note on that. So watch out for that, all that. Okay. And in fact, it's going to link, let's do that last part, like all that dirty. Notice how fast that is. We made a video recently talking about reductions, about, clear English is great and, it makes you understandable. But if your goal is not just clear English, you want natural sounding English, then in some ways clarity actually hurts you, right? It makes you sound less natural. So for instance, all that, I would really recommend reducing and saying a little bit faster. It's like all that dirty. Just try saying that really quick. All that. Notice when I'm saying that, if I reduce it enough, I'm not even pronouncing the TH on that. It's just like all that. It's just like all at. It's like all vowels. All that dirty. Even all that dirty. Okay. So as you practice linking, as you practice reductions and things like that, just be aware that some things are going to get dropped. Oftentimes your consonant sounds are going to become very weak. So instead of saying even all that dirty, it can often become even all that dirty. Because just a note about that. I'm not expecting the recordings that we listen to today to necessarily be doing that, but just one thing if you're working on reductions to kind of be mindful of. Other things here, the city, watch out for isn't, again with the short I sound. So it's not isn't, it's more isn't. And there's lots of times when I've been saying short I, and things like that. I see some questions here. I'll be right there. Emmanuel, hello to Mia. Thank you for checking in. It's great to have you here. Please join us more often for the streams. And we'll talk about this in a moment. But again, going back to our sentence, so isn't, again, you want to make sure you're having a short I. And you've heard me say short I a lot already. We've only been going for 7 minutes, so I've mentioned it a couple times. For the short I sound, the short I sound is like this sound, And to make this short I sound, what you're doing is you are, the very back of your tongue is down, the very front of your tongue is down. Oh no, she was on bed. I have to check the bot. I'm sorry to hear that. And another key thing for the short I sound too is make sure that the sides of your tongue are touching your top teeth. So it's almost like you're biting the sides of your tongue very gently, as always, no blood. Okay, so it's like So again, like si. Or we saw that for city, but also again for isn't. It's like isn't. If you find yourself saying isn't, it's not quite right. Also, just talking about isn't even. How do we link that? Isn't even. Typically, I think for that you're gonna get that you're gonna get kind of like a held T sound for that. I think that's gonna be a pretty common situation. It's like isn't even. Okay, so just a note on that. Isn't even. Okay. Attacking my bot. He's really nice when you get to know him, I promise. But he can get a little bit feisty, we could say. A little aggressive. I'll definitely take a look at his settings after this. I keep forgetting to. Also, Mayor. Oh no. I'm sorry about the symbols and things like that. Oh, the bot is attacking everybody. Oh God. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. No worries. We have some other things here. Can you like city with isn't? City isn't. Yeah, in fact, I recommend that you do. It's like city isn't. So notice that instead of just saying isn't, it's not city isn't. That's actually a little bit hard to say. The city isn't. That's not the smoothest. A little bit difficult. Okay. But I would really recommend more city isn't, more isn't. So that Y sound on city. This typically happens, if you have these long vowel sounds that link together from one word to another word, a lot of times you'll get like a Y sound in between it. So for instance, city isn't, or for instance, I am sounds like that. I am. Instead of saying I am, it's more I am. City isn't is more city isn't. So just trying to pay attention to those linking things there. Okay. All right. And yeah, part of the reason I can't even be on the Lang 8 stream right now is because I'm not in my normal place. Hello to 101 Star Wars fan. Great to see you. Denny asks, Jeff, is there a video on the reduction of the words like the one you just said? All that. I don't, it's a tricky thing to do because there are some general guidelines and things like that, but there's aren't necessarily set rules for this. So it's the closest thing I have right now I can try to find a video is probably the one I actually recently did on contractions. Actually kind of mentioned it to some degree. If you look at the channel page, I'll try to post a link now. But that one talked a little bit about reductions, and also the one talking about clarity with Denzel. I'll post a couple of links. Give me one moment to do that. So the first one I'm going to post is to a video that kind of just talks about what I just mentioned about having clear English versus like reduced and contractions. So the first one I'm going to post here is this one. You can see that in a moment. And that's a relatively recent video within the last month. And then the other one then is, I would say, also the contraction video. So like, for instance, it says saying like could not have, saying like couldn't have, or like couldn't have, and things like that. It's like contraction. You can see that here. Okay. All right. So I think I've answered this one about city and isn't. What else? I answered this one from Denny. Thank you for the question as well. the bot is still here. Glad to see Mary's here. That's great. We said that. She's still upset about the That is definitely true. We're all a little bit upset about the bot. Look, I try to keep things fresh. Like, why stick with one hairstyle? Why not mix things up often, especially for my guys? I mean, girls I feel like it's a lot easier just with different hairstyles and things like that, and dress options. Guys don't really have many options, right? So I try to do what I can. Okay. I've never heard this story before. It's sharing some knowledge about our forefathers. Look at that. I was not aware of this. I need to study my history. I did hear that Abraham Lincoln, a lot of people say Abraham Lincoln had a deep voice, but I've actually heard it was kind of high and scratchy. But I don't know. I wasn't there. That's just what I heard. Okay, but enough about me and enough about I mean, hairstyle, beard is hair and it's on your face. It's kind of tied together. Like your beard will look different depending on your hair length. No? No, is that too much of a stretch? Anyways, that's enough about me. Let's get to your files. You guys are here to get some feedback for you. So again, the way I would say the original sentence was, the city isn't even all that dirty. The city isn't even all that dirty. Okay, so notice that again, stresses on city and dirty. And if you're just listening to the sentence and not really paying too much attention, the words that really should hit you are city and dirty. The other words, again, are said pretty fast and very reduced. The city isn't even all that dirty. The city isn't even all that dirty. Okay. All right, let's take a look at your files. I know that some more have come in since I looked this morning to load our first files. But again, if you want to send your own pronunciation file, you can do it at this link. And if you're watching this after the stream, and you're like, wow, I'd like to have my pronunciation checked in a future stream, you can go to this same document anytime and post it. I have new challenges posted, so the document never changes. Okay, so if you want to see that in the future, okay, that's definitely an option. Oh, I've never I've never heard this about Abraham Lincoln as well. She spread some fake news in my live stream potentially. Okay. Put a little asterisk next to everything you're saying there, Mia. Yummy. All right, let me share my screen. Give me 1 second. Share my audio. All right, let's take a look at these. Okay, sharing screen and audio. So again, this is the document that you will see. I'm going to go through these. I'm going to do my best to make sure I don't miss anybody, but a lot of these were uploaded before the stream. So if I do miss you, my apologies. Make sure to let me know as I'm going through this. All right, let's listen to our first file. And again, a reminder, the way I would say this is the city isn't even all that dirty. First time.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Can we play that one more time?
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Okay. I would say so you have two thought groups just like I do, but I think your the separation between your thought groups is a little bit heavy.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
So like I would shorten that pause. I think your pause is a little bit long. It makes it sound, if you have these long pauses, it makes your speech sound a lot more dramatic. It's very common, like if you're a teacher, if you're a teacher or if you're giving speeches or things like that, it's common to have more thought groups and longer pauses between them because it sounds more dramatic. But if that's not the case, if you're just kind of doing just talking to friends and things like that, then I would really recommend having slightly shorter thought groups. One technique you can do, though, if your thought groups are long, let me hear this again.
The city isn't even all.
So notice that there's this pause where like there's really nothing happening. Nothing's coming out of your throat. There's no voice.
The city.
And there it is. It just kind of dies right there. So what you can do between your thought groups is, let's say you're talking and you're not entirely sure what you want to say next, or you need a moment to say it. What you can do is hold on to your previous vowel sounds. So instead of saying this,
The city.
you could do like the city. You could hold that E sound longer. So hold the final sound of your thought group. And that can just help link it to your next thought group a little bit more. So instead of saying the city isn't, you could say the city isn't, the city isn't, something like that. Because that's my first thing about the thought groups.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Okay, I think your stresses are on point. They sound like they're in the right spot.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Isn't even all that dirty. I would maybe have gone a little bit faster on that, but that's a more personal choice. I'm not saying it's wrong. I think the biggest thing besides the thought group is the R sound.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Because I'm hearing dirty, dirty, and I know we've been talking about this a lot in the group, Ed. Trying to get your R sounds to be just a little bit more relaxed. I'm still getting like like it's to me that sounds really high intense, like versus er. Can you hear a difference between those, like versus I would really try to get that lower and a little bit more relaxed to try to get more air through. Um, you know, the key to an R sound is not just having the back of your tongue high and curling up the front of your tongue. It's also about where the placement's coming from, and you want to keep the placement low also for that consonant. Der, versus.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
You hear that dirty versus dirty, dirty versus dirty. Just trying to get that a little bit more open. Play that one more time. The city isn't even all that dirty.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
One thing I do like about your stresses is this one sounds less exaggerated on the stresses. So I do commend you for that. I know you have a tendency sometimes to get those stresses to be very strong, and I don't think that's quite the case today. I think these sounds pretty good.
Isn't even all that dirty.
Okay. I also want to hear isn't really quick.
The city isn't even all that.
Isn't even. Your E sound on even.
The city isn't even all.
I'm hearing even versus even. The city isn't even versus the city isn't even. Can you hear the difference? Like, isn't it even versus isn't even? Try to get your placement just a little bit lower on the long I sound too. It's a minor thing, it's not a big deal. People understand you perfectly fine. But I think it's just one thing that makes it sound a little bit slightly different.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Yeah. Okay, but those are my main things. I think in general, I really like a lot of what I'm hearing here. If you have some questions for me about this, be sure to send me a message. But thank you as always for sharing. Can't do this without you, as I say. All right, let's just make sure if I missed anything. Okay. We still have a dialogue. I wasn't expecting the history lesson today. This is great. I was not expecting to learn about Abraham Lincoln today. I'm going to be checking the chat after this. That's great. This is also talking about American history, which is appropriate for Thanksgiving holidays, I think. All right, let's take a listen to our next file.
city isn't even all that dirty.
Ooh, I like this one. Okay, I know you guys didn't hear that, so let's share the audio so you guys can hear this as well. All right, so now you're with me. Let's take a listen.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
One thing I really like about this is it really flows. I think you're going from one word to the next. Like there's no long pauses or things that sound detached. Like everything really does sound linked together, which I do like.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Isn't even all that dirty versus dirty.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Now let me hear the first part again.
The city isn't even all.
The city.
The city.
City versus city. City. I wouldn't necessarily say it's wrong. I think it sounds slightly different than mine, but even among native speakers, there'll be some differences between these. I want to hear that again.
The city is.
City. I would maybe say that short I sound could maybe be a little bit more reduced, but again, I think it's relatively minor.
Isn't even all that dirty. The city isn't even all that.
Isn't even the city? Isn't even.
The city isn't even all that.
Isn't even
That dirty.
all that dirty. The city isn't even all that dirty. Something sounds interesting to me about the rhythm. Here again.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Dirty versus dirty. I think it may be the R sound on dirty.
Isn't even all that dirty.
All that dirty. All that dirty.
Isn't even all that dirty.
Dirty versus dirty. Dirty. I'd maybe say and this is a minor thing. I would just say even getting that placement a little bit lower on that R sound could be helpful. Instead of dirty, it's somewhere dirty. I'd like a stronger R on dirty, personally. I'd also like to hear that long I at the end.
That dirty.
Dirty. I'd maybe even say you could hold that vowel at the end just like a touch longer. I said dirty, more dirty. Dirty isn't even all that dirty. Isn't even all that dirty. Yeah, maybe just holding that long I at the end, just like a touch longer. But in general, I really like this. I think it flows really nicely. I like your linking. In general, I think the placement's staying pretty low. I just want a little lower on that, especially on that R. I think there's a lot to like here, though.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Yeah. So I would say like what we talked about for the R sound, what we talked about for those final I sounds, like on dirty, and maybe even for city, you could maybe hold it just a little longer as well.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
The city isn't. The city isn't. Want to hear that linking?
The city isn't even all.
City isn't. City isn't. It sounds a little high for the placement on that linking. Like city isn't, or city isn't. City isn't. So say isn't more isn't. See if we can do that sound like yeah isn't. City isn't. Yeah. But yeah, in general, I really like these. I think I'm being very nitpicky. I don't think these are large. I don't think these are necessarily even issues. Just recommendations I think could get sounding even more natural. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing this audio. I really appreciate it. Please do it again. As always, we cannot do this without you. So that was a nice audio to listen to. Okay. All right. Thank you again, Emmanuel. Yeah, in general, I really like that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's very suave, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah. It definitely has a very smooth style. Yeah. I think that's very fair. Yeah. And again, thank you for sending your audio as always, Emmanuel. That's great. All right, let's take a listen to our next one, right? Gotta make sure I got rid of it. The city is. Oh wow, this one is a very strong voice. You guys, just heads up, you may need to turn down your microphone. I mean, turn down your speakers for this next one. Just a heads up. I know I will need to slightly. One sec to share once more. Let's take a listen to this. The city isn't even all that dirty. Okay, I can hear reductions going on, which is great. I really hear those coming through. Let me hear it again. The city isn't even all that dirty. Okay. Let's talk really quick about, let's kind of work backwards a bit for dirty. Dirty. That was a little bit too far. Hang on.
Dirty.
One more.
Isn't even all that dirty.
Dirty. Dirty. The fast D sound is the flat T, fast D, whatever you call it. It's a tricky sound because there's a variety of ways it can be made. Some of the times you're making slight contact with the tip of your tongue and the top of your mouth. Sometimes you're doing that like a D, like city. That's a relatively strong contact there, city. But then there's other times too where it's just kind of gently raising and lowering your tongue without making contact. So instead of saying like city, sometimes you'll also just hear say, city. Like I was in the city the other day. And I think the key if you're doing it like that is to really I think speed is your friend. You're trying to do that pretty fast. So some I think that's really key to getting that natural sound if you do that like a city. I went to the city the other day. I went to the city the other day versus I went to the city the other day. With the R sound, like I went to the party. Like I'm 40. He's 40. Or dirty. He's dirty. It's it definitely, I'll put it this way, especially as from a second language learner perspective, it's definitely helpful if you add a slightly stronger D sound. Okay, let me play again.
Dirty.
Because otherwise it turns like dirty, dirty, and it's not dirty, it's dirty. It's like if you're doing it fast, like it's not dirty, it's dirty or dirty. So see if you can hear differences between dirty and dirty and dirty. Because I think what I'm hearing here, I would like a slightly stronger fast D sound.
All that dirty.
Because right now I'm just hearing dirty. So I would like that to maybe be a little stronger on dirty. I think that's especially common again with like RTY combinations like party or 40, so situations like that, or dirty in this case. Let's take a look at the beginning.
The city isn't.
City. Let's hear that again.
The city is.
City. City.
The city is.
City. I would maybe even just raise the middle of your tongue just slightly higher. I think it's very close, but just maybe a little higher, like city. The city.
The city isn't.
Because it's like the city versus the city. The city. It's a slight difference. I mean, it's not really that big a deal, but I do think it can help get a more natural sound, just raising that tongue a little higher, maybe closing the mouth just slightly more. Would be my recommendations.
Isn't even.
I'm gonna hear that isn't again.
City isn't even.
I feel like I'm getting isn't versus isn't.
It isn't even all.
It again, like isn't even versus isn't even. Get a difference between isn't even versus isn't even. So I would say the placement a little bit lower could be helpful, and also make sure that when you're saying isn't, it stays a short I, not a long I. So it's not isn't, it's more isn't. The city isn't even. The city isn't even versus.
The city isn't even all.
Yeah, because that placement sounds pretty high on isn't. Let's listen to that middle part.
It isn't even all that dirty.
All that. I want to hear that all that part.
Even all that dirty.
I feel like I'm getting like a D sound. All that versus all that. I think a clearer TH sound would help this sound just slightly more standard. Like instead of all that, more all that, all that. What I recommend with THs is like words with a TH, especially at the start. It's like for instance, like in that. Say the TH sound long enough that you hear the vibration and you feel it through your teeth. It's like the. Say that TH until you get that. And then as soon as you hear it, you can then move on to your vowel. So that'd be my recommendation for like that. It's like all that versus all that, more all that. Okay, all that dirty.
Even all that dirty.
Because I feel all that dirty versus all that dirty. Okay, and THs are really tricky, especially when they're around words that are similar sounds like S's and D's and sounds like that. So it's very easy. Like if you say like the day, that can be a tricky combination. A lot of people end up saying like the day or things like that versus the day. So just making sure again you hold your TH long enough to hear the vibration. Okay. Give me a moment after we look at this, and I'll send you guys a link to check out for linking words together that have TH sounds with these kind of hard consonants like THs, linking a TH to a T or linking a TH to a D. Sounds like that because those can be tricky. But again, the city isn't even all that dirty.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Okay. Yes, those would be my biggest recommendations there. Thank you so much for sharing your audio. I do appreciate it. Thank you. All right, I'm going to look to find that link to that video. Okay. Let's see who is here as well. Just checking in. Zobeda is here in the house. Hello, hello, Z. Thank you for checking in as always. Okay. Send a link. Miami's gonna join. Send us an audio. Take a listen to. That's great. Look forward to hearing that. Also, some questions for her. Yeah, Mountain Hunting and Denton. Yeah, great questions. Let me see. Again, give me a moment. I'm going to send you guys some links to some videos that I think will be very helpful for that. First one is going to be like linking TH sounds. Give me a moment to find that video. Where did I put it? Because again, this is just such a common thing that I see people struggling with. But as I'm looking for this video, the question related to this point here. So how do you say words like mountain and hunting and things like that? And Zubeda asks, can I ask some off-topic things? Yeah, now is definitely a good time because we're taking a quick short break while I try to find some videos. So now is a great time I can try to answer those types of questions. Other things too. So how do you say mountain and hunting? Yeah, so these are held T situations before an N sound. So just a note. So for instance, what I would recommend with these held T sounds, remember, a held T is not the same as just removing the T. What you're doing is you're doing two things. You're basically trying to, what do I say? You're trying to link, you're shortening your vowel sounds. So that's the very first thing. Okay, so the first thing when you're pronouncing these held T sounds is it's not just about the T, it's also about the vowel sound that's near it. So you want to try to shorten that vowel sound. To give you an example of this, like for instance, a word like stay, S-T-A-Y, stay, A as an A sound, okay? Versus state, state. So you notice that A versus A. So like the first thing is that you'll notice is that the vowel sounds different. The second thing is too, like when you say state, if you pronounce that normally, you would like release the breath, okay? So just a note, you'll release that breath on a normal T, but for a held T, what you're also doing, in addition to shortening the vowel sound, is you're also holding the breath so that the air doesn't escape. So instead of saying state, it becomes like state, state. And you can do that by tightening your throat and even your chest to some degree, okay? So just a note about that. We do have some videos. I'll show some videos that we have for about the held T. So this is going to be, this first thing I'm going to send you is about linking with TH to D, Z, T, and some similar types of sounds. So I definitely would encourage you guys to check that one out if that's a challenge for you with TH sounds. In terms of held T sounds, here's going to be a video. These are the most common words statistically. Okay, so these are, if you look at the English, like 2,000 most common words, these are the words among those that have held T sounds. So if you're just trying to practice held Ts, but you want to make sure you're studying words that are effective and helpful for that, this is a great link for you. It's like held T, most common words. And if you just kind of want more practice with held T sounds, like just like using them and getting used to the formation and things like that, it's an old video. I believe in the video my hair is very long. Yeah, I have a I have a massive beard. I say it pretty slowly and things like that, but the content itself is good. Like kind of just the held T fundamentals and things like that. So if you're just want to get some practice and you want to see me with a bigger beard and a slower voice, you can check out that video. Okay. So I hope that is helpful, Manuel, for that question there. Like Denton, Denton. That's the other thing too, is that I think with held T sounds with it that come before an N, is that you don't add a vowel sound before the N. You know, don't say N like dent N. Just do denton. Just do that N sound. It's like mountain or like carton, like mountain, carton, things like that. So you're not saying mount N or like cart N, it's mountain, carton. So don't add a vowel sound before your N. Also make sure that for that N sound, So like make sure that for that you're putting it low in the throat. What some students do is they do like an where the placement's really high. But you really want that placement to be low. It's more mountain and things like that. Those would be my biggest suggestions for that. Douglas mentioned some difficulties with that glottal T / I know there are differences between a glottal T and a held T, but I think for most students, it's not necessarily helpful to get so technical. Like in general, the glottal T and the held T can get you close enough to the same sound that I don't think it makes a big deal for most people. If you can give me some examples with a held T, glottal T, with an H, give me some examples that you would find tricky. Other things here. Andres, great to see you. Says, are you going to upload this video? When you say this video, do you mean this live stream? This live stream will be on the channel. It will be on the channel 2 ways. So I have a playlist that says corrections for English language learners. So this video will get added to that. In addition to that, if you go to my channel page and you search videos, make sure that you just change it. Instead of saying uploads, you want it to say live. And then you'll see my live videos. And yes, it will be up there afterwards for this stream. So Beta asked, do I have any Spanish-speaking students? I want to know if they pronounce the ah sound as you do in English. I think that's a great question. What I would say is that remember that even if English has the same vowel sounds, that the English does have vowel sounds that exist in your language. And when I say your, I mean most of you watching this. Andres, thank you so much for the kind words. English has several vowel sounds that most other languages have. There are vowel sounds, for instance, like the ah sound, which Zobeda mentions, which most languages do have. The differences, though, are always going to be related to placement. So even if the mouth position is identical, so for the ah sound, you're opening your mouth wide and you're keeping your tongue low. Okay, and so like if you guys say ah, again, your language probably has a version of this. The difference that you're going to see with English is that, again, English is going to be low and relaxed. So where a lot of languages are doing kind of like an ah, or for instance, if you had some British training, you may get more like an aw type sound slightly. American English is going to be much more open and relaxed and low, and it's going to be more ah. Okay, so just a note about that. Okay. Yes, so it's even for my Spanish-speaking students or my Romance language students in general. It's going to be very similar, but it's not going to be exactly the same. So just a note about that. So again, you can check out this video if you're interested in seeing how different vowel sounds change across languages. Okay. Let's see. And yeah, Miami talked about this as well. Also has a question about word stress. So not just about like different parts of sentences, but actually saying it inside of a word. Yes, I believe I do. This is especially if you're watching this and you speak in if you speak like an Indian language like Hindi or Bengali or things like that, this is a really big thing because one of the big differences between English, whether it's American or British English or other variations of English and Indian English, is a lot of Indian languages and dialects tend to actually put the stress on different parts of a word, which can be kind of a big deal in terms of your sentence rhythm. Because even though it's a one word, if people are listening for stress to be in one part of a word and you're putting it later or earlier, it can cause some confusion. I want to say I do have that. Give me 1 sec. I have to find that. One thing that may be helpful for that, Zobeda, is this video here. It's specifically talking, for instance, about phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs are interesting because when you say phrasal verbs, the stress is usually going to be on the particle. Like for instance, you'll see in the thumbnail for that video is like push up. It's like the verb would be you need to push up of the box or something like that. But when you use phrasal verbs as nouns, like when you get like a phrasal noun, you actually put the stress on the first parts, like a push up. I did 20 push-ups, things like that. Okay, so that's one thing that maybe will interest you a bit. In addition to that, God, I know I had other videos that talked about this. I have too many videos, guys. Too many videos. Let me get back to you because I know if I can't find it right away now, then I'll have to find it later. But yes, I do have videos that talk about that. Let me try one more search term. Because I think one went through. Another thing is that could be helpful for me is if instead of putting it on this is for Douglas, instead of putting it on YouTube, if you have access to the Google Doc or this document right here, you won't have run into that issue. That's part of the reason why I have the Google Doc, so that way people don't have that issue. Okay. We might actually listen to Miami's next, so that way you can hear another native speaker say it. Okay. But yeah, I don't. Oh, that's really frustrating because I know I have. Oh, here. I think this is the one. It's an old video, Zabeta, but this is another one that talks about like stress in words, especially in relation to things like compound nouns. So, for instance, like a newspaper. Newspaper. There's two parts to that, right? News and paper. But so it's that. But so again, you would stress in news because it's a compound noun. It's one thing, two words, but one thing. Whereas like a new paper, well, in that case, you're just describing a paper. So in that case, you would stress paper. So this will give you some practice with that. I thought I had another video too that talked about how, if you change the stress. Oh, it's super old. When is this from? You'll see me with a massive beard, but no hair. This talks about, it's an old video, but again, this talks about nouns versus verbs because there are some words in English that I'm sure you're aware of that if you put the stress in one spot, it completely changes the meaning. So for instance, if you say like a record, like I played a record, that's a noun. But if you say, I need to record a video, well, now I changed the stress, right? I put it on record. It's like record versus record. So there's two different things there. So I think that can talk a little bit about word stress as well. So Zabeta, those are like 3 resources to check out with things that I have. Okay. All right. Lots of great stuff there. Talk about great. Miami, are you sure you say gray or do you say great? Because there's a difference, right? There's a difference in gray and great. It's not quite the same thing. Another thing too with stop consonants is there's nothing wrong with pronouncing the T, and you will even hear some native speakers that will pronounce the T. So it's not one of those things that you need to do, but it certainly is one of those things that can make you sound more natural. So there may be times where you say great with a held T, but there may also be times where you say great without it. So just a note on that. I talked about this. Talked about before, contract, and yeah, so this is what Miami was also mentioning, what I mentioned earlier too. Okay. Bot still causing some trouble. And lots of comments, of course, about the beard and the hair. Look, like I said, I like to mix it up. And as you can also see, my videos have changed quite a lot over time. Okay, so let's Miami, I'm actually going to pull up your audio. Yeah, exactly. Say the T sound with your throat. Exactly. I like what she says there. Okay, I'm going to pull up Miami's audios just to give you guys another idea of how a native speaker would say this. Give me one moment. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Again, this will just be another option. Take a look at. So, but if you have some other questions, feel free to drop them. If I have time, I'll try to address them. And that's perfectly fine. Let's take a listen to this. Okay, so again, this is from Miami, who was kind enough to share an audio. She's again a native speaker, helping us out.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Okay, I'll play it one more time so you can hear.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Okay, I want to have I think it was Ed. I forget if it was your audio. It's one of our first audios that we listened to. Notice the linking between city and is. So again, we have two stresses. We have stress on city and we have stress on dirty. Notice how they're linking city and isn't.
The city isn't even.
Do you hear that? City isn't. The city isn't. So linking again with that Y sound, which is again, it's so helpful to get that natural sound.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Let's also pay attention to that. There's that heavily reduced part, right? Like the isn't even all that. Pay attention to this part.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Isn't even all that.
The city isn't even all that dirty. The city isn't even all that dirty. Isn't even all that dirty.
All that dirty. And the other things too that are really helpful with stress, like all that. Again, we've mentioned before with stress that you want to raise the pitch. But you also, again, don't want your pitches to go crazy. You don't want, if you want to raise the pitch, but you don't want it to be too high. You want to be like all that dirty. Like that would just sound wrong, right? All that dirty, but more all that dirty. All that dirty. Notice how it kind of builds up.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
All that dirty. All that dirty. So it's like all goes up a step, that goes a step higher, and then you have dirty, which is the highest.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
All that dirty. All that dirty. So again, build up with your stresses, okay? You want to keep things relatively close to each other. You don't want your stress pitches to go too high. And again, I would say this as the city isn't even all that dirty. The city isn't even all that dirty.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Okay. Mammy, thank you so much for sharing that audio. We do appreciate it. Always learning new things, getting some help from people. Okay, see if there's any comments here. Okay. There was a bit of sass, especially on that last part, right? Isn't even all that dirty. Isn't even all that dirty. Like, calm down. It's not that dirty. Calm down. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Remove another reduced word in phrases. TH. That helps people. It's like the helps people. The helps people. The helps people. I wouldn't even just say it's just a TH, like the helps people. The helps people. I would even say maybe a very, very, very slight schwa sound. Very slight, like the helps people. The helps people. The helps people. Okay, things like that. But yes. Kizobeta also asks here, please pronounce native speaker. Native speaker. Native speaker. Native speaker. Native speaker. That'd be the more natural pace. Native speaker versus native speaker. It's also hard. I totally understand when you're learning words or you're listening to sentences, you want to slow things down to hear it. But my only caution would be that when you listen to things slowly, you lose some of the elements. You lose some of the elements that are going on because, for instance, like linking and things like that, it becomes more difficult when you speak things slower. Okay, like for instance, if you listen to people giving a speech, they're not going to do all those rules related to linking that we've discussed because they're going a little bit too slowly. There's too many pauses and things like that. So just be mindful of that. I'm perfectly fine if like you listen to something and you're like, oh, I didn't understand that. Let me listen to it again, slower. I totally get that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I would definitely, after you get used to it, listen to it faster at a more natural pace because you'll hear that the sounds are different. Sometimes the vowel sounds change, the linking can change, things like that. Because there's just something to be mindful of there for that. Okay, checking for questions. I'm not seeing much. Nightbots making their presence known. But yeah, if you're enjoying, if you're learning something with me today, whether you're watching with us right now or later, sometime in the future, be sure to like the video because that helps get the message out. All right, let's go back to hearing some more of your audio files. Give me one moment to share my screen and things. I'm also going to grab a pillow because my legs are kind of killing me slowly. Okay. All right, this is one we just listened to.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
I think it's one that we did listen to already. If we didn't, be sure to let me know. Give me a second to grab a pillow, but let's listen to this next file.
The city isn't even all that dirty. The city isn't even all that dirty.
Okay. The city isn't. I think this is Marcos. Thank you, Marcos, for sending this file. Let's listen to it again, see what's going on here.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
What do you guys think I'm going to say about this first part?
The city isn't.
How about just that part?
The city isn't even.
Some of this could be the microphone too, but to me, some of those some of those short I sounds sound just a little bit long. It's like like e versus eh. So I would maybe even exaggerate the short I's just slightly.
And all that dirty. The city isn't
Because I feel like I'm getting the city isn't versus the city isn't. The city isn't. Another reason why they could be sounding like long I sounds to me is that it could be that the placement's a little bit too high in the throat. So you're getting like this e versus this eh. So just trying to lower the placement a bit for those two.
the city isn't even all that dirty.
All that dirty. All that. You're also, I wouldn't say you're stressing all, but you're definitely raising the pitch a bit. Here we go.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Because I'm getting all that dirty, which, on the one hand, I understand you're almost treating it like a 3-word group, a 3-word combination where a little bit of stress on the first word, heavier stress on the last word. Pretty common situation in English. But I would probably reduce the stress on all. I probably wouldn't raise the pitch so much. Isn't even all that dirty. All that dirty.
Isn't even all that dirty.
All that dirty. All that dirty. Yeah, I probably would have lowered the pitch a little bit on all. I don't want it to get as much attention as I think it's getting in this sentence here. I also want to hear dirty again.
Isn't even all that dirty.
I actually like your R sound on dirty. I think it sounds really good.
And all that dirty.
I maybe would have changed the intonation like dirty versus dirty. I maybe would have gone with a heavier fall. I think that's common with adjectives at the end of a sentence is to have maybe a sharper falling intonation or rising intonation if it's a question or like a yes no question. So I maybe would have made the intonation just a little bit sharper, and I think that would have just made it sound more natural in a sentence. I don't think there's anything wrong with how you're doing it now, but I'm trying to think of a situation like in real life where you would say it like this, and I'm having some trouble.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
The city isn't even all that dirty. The city isn't even all that dirty. Yeah, I personally just can't think of a situation where you would say it exactly in that way. So I'd pay attention to what I said about the all, and also what I would say about dirty. That's just kind of my take on it. But in general, again, I like a lot what you're doing. I like the R sound. I like the stresses you identified. City isn't even all that dirty. I also like the reductions in general. Let me hear them one more time.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Isn't even all that. Yeah, like especially like the isn't even the linking there and the reductions there. I like that. Okay. All right, but yeah, some things to think about for that sentence. Thank you as always for sharing your audio. I do appreciate it. Thank you. I will check the chat, see if I'm missing anything crazy. Okay. Oh, I haven't. I'll be honest. I have not seen The Grudge. It's not because I'm scared. I just haven't seen it, and I just haven't. I haven't seen. I don't know. My pop culture knowledge is horrible. It takes me a long time to see things, and yeah, I've not seen it, so I can't entirely relate. But I'm sure other people watching this have seen The Grudge, and they can. Yeah, and some Americans will speak lower. Conversely, there are also other people that I was talking about this with another student last week who naturally also have higher pitches. Like if you guys are familiar, there's an actor / comedian named Chris Tucker. But even like Chris Rock, these are people that these are men that you listen to them and you're like, whoa, why do they have a slightly higher pitch than a lot of other guys do? So my student came to me and he was like, but Jeff, so like these guys, they have higher pitches. Would you say that their placement's high? And what I would say is that, if you listen to this, if you listen to these, if you listen to them like doing their stand up or listen to them in movies and things like that, what I would say is that, a lot about, what is considered low placement for one person will be different than for another person because we all have different biologies, right? A lot of this has to do with your a part of your throat called your larynx, and generally men have lower larynxes than women do. Okay, it just goes deeper into the chest, so that allows you to get a deeper voice. But even it's not like all men have the same size larynx, so some men are going to be able to go deeper than others, and so I would still say if you listen to like Chris Rock or Chris Tucker, I mean, if you listen to them when they talk, they're still talking with a lower placement, but their pitches are just going to be higher just because of biology. So just kind of something to be mindful of. Okay. Sorry. Sorry, Mia. Miami. Yes. And I think this is talking about something I missed. Time limit. Yeah, I would say like 15 seconds. I'm trying to get through as many as I can. I do have to teach at 3 o'clock, so I'm going to try to get through everyone's audio before then. I would say, yeah, 10 to 15 seconds I think would be great. Okay. Also, a question here from Denny. If you exhale deeply and then try to speak. like, let me try to do that. So if I try to talk like this, I gotta like really breathe. I don't think you want to get like too breathy, but I would say is that you do want it to sound relaxed. You want to always feel like air is able to move through your throat. Okay, and what I see with a lot of students is it sounds like, for instance, when they finish a word, like for instance, a word like day. Like when I say day, it sounds like even after I finish the vowel, I could keep the breath going, like day. And like the breath sounded I'm never really cutting off the breath. But what I see with some students is that they say a word like day and like it feels cut off. Like as soon as the word is finished, the word dies, like day or something like that. It's almost like held. So I'd really say, trying to get that relaxed sound. Being careful, it can become slightly too relaxed. It becomes slightly too relaxed. You'll kind of do like a vocal fry, doing something like a day, kind of like a situation like that. You want to be a little bit firmer, and things like that. First, exhale deeply. So try to talk like this. I mean, it's hard because I don't. I would say try it in the audio and see. That'd be my recommendation. I can hear it. Oh no, Miami! I hope you're if you're out there, Miami, try to send us a message from wherever you've gone. I know that Nightbot is constantly attacking you. What I would say is that, yeah, I think that can work. I don't think it's necessary that every time you talk, you need to exhale deeply, though. I'll put it that way. It's not fundamental that you exhale and then talk in order to speak in English. I'll put it that way. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Okay. Okay, Denny, I will definitely try to listen for that in the audio. Okay. All right, we keep mentioning audio files. And again, if you're just joining us, you're like, what are they talking about with like audio files and things like that? We are listening to your pronunciation. I'm listening to audio files that you send me. You can do it by going to this document that is at the top. Okay. And basically, once in the document, you'll see a place where you can send in your audio files and I can listen to them and things like that. So I will provide some quick suggestions and feedback. And again, the sentence that we are working with is, oh wait, it's not that sentence. Where did I put it? Here we go, right above. The city isn't even all that dirty. The city isn't even all that dirty. So that's the sentence that we are working on today. Okay. And by the way, if you're enjoying this, you're finding this helpful, you like getting this feedback, these suggestions and things like that, you want to get this on a I imagine that the bot's not gonna like that. I shouldn't have put that up. If you go to patreon.com/fluentamerican, you can also join. We have a pronunciation group that looks at your pronunciation every single day of the week. So if you want to get practice like this every single day, go to patreon.com/fluentamerican and you will see to join our Telegram group. Okay, going back, of course, to our audio, because I know there's many, many, many files to take a look at still. Okay. Okay, how do we listen to this one?
The city is not even all that dirty.
Okay, the very first thing I want to tell you is that your T sounds are very strong. And remember that in American English, yes, that T sound exists. However, there are also many, many, many other versions of this as well.
The city is not even all that dirty.
Okay, so other things So again, instead of we talked about a lot of these T sounds. So for instance, instead of sit T, getting more city with that fast D sound, I think we'll just help get you a more natural sound. And if you're like, but Jeff, no one does this around me, or I never heard of this before, or things like that, most likely you received training in British English, which obviously is a very valid form of English, very well used. But that's one of the big differences between British English and American English is that American English is not going to pronounce these T sounds when a T is surrounded by vowels. So instead of saying city, you're much, much, much more likely to hear city. Let's just note on that.
The city is not even all.
The other thing here too, so you've taken the contraction from the sentence. So notice in the stream we had it as isn't even, and I think even in the document I have it as isn't even. So this is something I would really encourage you to start paying attention to, is that notice that if there is a contraction, see if you can keep the contraction instead of changing it into like a full form. Like instead of is not even, trying to see if you can keep it as isn't even, because my guess is that you're not even aware that you're doing this sometimes. But I think that you may have a tendency to take contractions and read them full form. So for instance, instead of saying like there is, you're probably saying things like there's. Instead of saying like I, like instead of I'll, you probably say like I will. Or like instead of saying like she would, you may have a tendency to say she'd, and things like that. So I would really encourage you to take a look at contractions, because contractions are one quick way to immediately start sounding more natural. And when I say quick, just to note that this doesn't necessarily mean easy, because they may not be used to. You may not be used to pronouncing things that way, so they can take some getting used to. So I would definitely say, study some contractions. Start slow. Maybe just be like, okay, I'm going to try to just say like I'll today. Instead of saying I will, I'm going to try to say I'll today like 5 times or something like that, just to practice using it and gradually build up to getting used to your contractions. So those are the first 2 things. Pay attention to your T sounds. Pay attention to your contractions.
T is not even all.
Hear that even, like not even, not even.
Not even all.
Very strong T, right? Most likely you would either do like a held T, so like not even, or you would get a fast T, so like not even, not even. Okay, so it's not even or not even. Most likely though, you would not get a fully pronounced T, so it's a not even. That is not very common.
Even all that dirty.
All that dirty. Let me hear dirty.
All that dirty.
So for dirty, interestingly enough, you do more of a fast D sound, and I think that's helpful. Okay, so I do like that. But yeah, for my suggestions for this file right now, what I would say, the biggest thing I would say, study some T sounds just to get used to them. Study some contractions.
The city is not even all that dirty.
One last thing is I feel like you have like 3 thought groups here. You have like the city is not even all that dirty. So kind of 3. I would say try to reduce it to 2. Just for practice. There's nothing wrong with having 3 thought groups, but we've talked about it before, where I think a lot of my students have too many thought groups. They tend to have more than native speakers will, and that does have an impact on your rhythm. So I would take off that second thought group. Instead of saying the city is not even, I'd probably do the city is not even. I would just keep that one thought group, keep that all together to cut down on your stresses and cut down on your pauses. Okay. One last time. So again, the way I would say this is the city is not even all that dirty.
The city is not even all that dirty.
Okay. Yeah, I think dirty is actually your strongest word there. I really like how you read that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing your audio. I do appreciate it. I can't do this without you. All right, just checking in on things. Okay. Yeah. Commenting on our Putin video. Yes, in case you don't know, I do have a video. Actually, I have 2 videos now, but my first Putin video got a decent amount of traction, and there's lots of people on there that didn't quite seem to understand the point, even though it says accent analysis or pronunciation analysis and stuff like that. So I don't know what exactly they were expecting. I think it even has it in the title. Yeah, I really don't understand. Yeah. People, man, this is your new word, right? Molding. Yes, people are toxic on the web. It's when you're online, people think they have a shield up. which is fine. I don't those types of comments don't really bother me. I would say in terms of contractions, what I see with students is it's almost like an all or nothing kind of thing. And in general, my students aren't using like any. So I would just say, experiment and just start using them more. I mean, it's typically like when you're learning parts of a language, you start to overuse it. So I do think that happens, but I think that's also how you learn. Like start making mistakes with it, start finding out when's an appropriate time, when isn't an appropriate time, because contractions are, again, if your goal is a natural sounding English, you need to use contractions. In spoken English, you need to use it. And this isn't just like for like casual conversation. You're going to hear contractions in meetings and things like that too. And this is for a variety of situations. Okay, let's listen to our next file. So now we're getting up against time. Give me one moment to share my screen on your audio. And by the way, if you have not sent in an audio file and you want me to take a look at your pronunciation, then kind of running out of time, right? So take a look again at the Google document. You can see the link here. It's at the very top of the chat, by the way. It's the second thing I posted. And the first thing you'll see is that we're taking a look at this sentence here. The city isn't even all that dirty. All right, let's move on again. Listen to some more audio, because that's what we do. Next one.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Okay, we really moved on this one.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
The city isn't even all that dirty. I think, which word do you think is getting the heaviest stress here?
The city isn't even all that dirty. The city isn't even all that dirty.
I'll play it one more time.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
I think I think in terms of stress, I think this can work. I think there could be situations where you would do it this way. I think a more common situation though would be putting the heavier stress on dirty. I feel like it all is kind of getting the heavier stress.
It isn't even all that dirty.
You hear all that dirty, all that dirty. I'm exaggerating. That's kind of what I'm hearing. All that dirty versus all that dirty, all that dirty. I would expect in a normal situation, and this is always tricky because context is always more important. Like what does normal situation mean? But I think it's going to be more common for the, your adjective is your last major content word here. So dirty is your last major word here. I think that dirty would be more likely to get the heavier stress. So instead of saying all that dirty, more all that dirty isn't even all that dirty. I think it would be more likely for dirty to get stressed, in my opinion. Okay. So just a note about that. We'll see what else is going on.
The city isn't even all that.
I want to hear that isn't even.
The city isn't even all.
Isn't even. Can you lower the placement just like a little bit for even? I feel like I'm getting even versus even. So again, not even, it's more even. Just try to lower the placement a little bit on that long I sound. So it isn't even or isn't even.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
All that dirty versus all that dirty. Yeah, and if I heard that sentence again with the switch stress on dirty, I think that would have an impact on that all that dirty part. Yeah, so those would be my biggest suggestions here. I like a lot of what you're doing. I think the rhythm's good. I like the pace.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
I would just say, yeah, take off that stress on all. I think that's going to help your rhythm for a bit. Okay. And also a little bit for that placement for even. But in general, I really like this. I think it sounds pretty good. Yeah. Thank you for sending this audio. If you have some questions for me about this, feel free to let me know. But again, I cannot do this without you. Okay, so that was my initial group. I see that we have some more files since then. Okay. Going back to see what's going on here. You're not or you aren't. They mean different things. Like you're not. You're. Or I guess in some situations they can. That's a tricky thing to see. Let me see if I can get some feedback. Ready? Thank you for sending it. I'm going to take a note. That's a great question. Let me get back to you, Douglas, against. We'll see what the other people are sending in. You know, that's I don't originally I was really leaning that way, but you know, there are situations where like you aren't. Like, are you bothering me? Like you aren't. What I would say, I think it kind of depends on context and situations. Like what I under like which sounds stronger versus which one sounds kind of like more neutral. I would say that like you're not is putting a lot of emphasis on the not. So like the times where you want to emphasize that something is not happening. Like for instance, like if someone asks you like, "Oh, am I bothering you?" You say, "No, you're not. You're not." Like that really sounds a little bit more emphatic to me versus like, "Oh, you aren't. You aren't. You aren't." Um, I think that I think it kind of comes down to that. I think not is a stronger like if you want to emphasize that something is not happening, you could not contract it. You know, because that's another thing too, you know, when you don't contract things, you're giving them more attention. You're giving them more time and space. So if I'm not contracting the not, if I'm using the full form, I'm giving it more emphasis and I'm giving it more time to be noticed. You know, so I think it kind of comes down to what you want to emphasize. That's just my suggestion. You know, Miami, you can let me know what your thoughts are on that. Japanese name person. That's our new name for Miami, or Japanese name person. Andres asks, is it okay to feel vibration in the sound towards the chest? The chest feel like this. Yeah, I think that's fine. You know, I think just try not to get like a vocal fry. We talked about that a little bit earlier. You know, you don't want like for instance the A sound. You don't want it to become like a. But like if you do like an A sound, yeah, I think it's okay if you're feeling a little bit in your chest. I think that's fine. Yeah, yeah. And some agreement there on the not thing. Okay. All right, give me a moment. I just want to check in a lot of these new files that have been sent to me. And again, if I miss your file today, I apologize. I'm trying to get through as many as I can. Okay, that's a new one. Let me see. Dennis. I'm gonna have to do like a lightning round through these. But that's fine. Okay. Alex, I feel like we did this.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Okay. Oh man, you guys keep sending me.
City isn't even all that dirty. Oh man, the city isn't even all that dirty. Man.
This will have to be our last one that we can finish up with. Thank you guys. Not a song today, but that's okay. Not a song. And this one.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Ends up being okay.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Okay. I think that's everybody's. Cool. Let's mi ask how's your Italian coming on? Me la cavo. Abbastanza bene, lo uso per parlare col mio figlio, ma ovviamente non è perfetto, ma me la cavo. Is the singer back? Not quite. I think it is, but it's different. All right, like I said, we're gonna do a lightning round. Y'all is a strong word here. I don't think it's everybody. That's great. All right, let me share my screen again. That we're going to run through these some quick feedback because I think we've already touched on a lot of the things you need to be paying attention to for these audios, but we'll just kind of give something that's a little bit more personalized. So my apologies if I say, "Oh, take a listen to earlier in the stream" for the feedback. All right, let's listen to this first one here.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
You really I like that you're paying a lot of attention to the rhythm and the pace. You know, trying to keep it quick. Reductions, keeping the thought groups minimal. I do think dirty is missing some of that stress. We kind of talked about that earlier. I would have had dirty be a little stronger.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Isn't even all that dirty. Like the city isn't even all that dirty. The city isn't even all that dirty. I would have just raised the pitch just a little bit more on dirty because it just sounds a little bit flat.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Because it's all that dirty versus even all that dirty isn't even all that dirty. I would just raise the pitch there because it's your last major content word. It's the word that is most likely in your sentence going to be kind of the most important. word in a lot of ways. So I would try to get that just a little bit more stress. Just to know. But in general, I really like what you're doing here. Again, the way I would read this is the city isn't even all that dirty.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Yeah, I like your reductions, like your pace. There's a lot to like here. I would just up that stress a little bit on dirty. That'd be my suggestion. Thank you, Z. I do appreciate it. Our next one here.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Again, we talked earlier about T sounds, so I would definitely say listen to earlier in the stream for all the variety of T sounds, because right now I'm kind of just hearing one dominant form, which is like that T. See if you can hear that.
The city.
Do you hear that there on sit T versus city?
Isn't.
Watch out for isn't. Again, your placement you want a little lower, so it's not isn't. It's more isn't.
Even or.
Even. Try to get that N sound, also lower placement. Again, placement's not just for vowel sounds, also for consonants. I would try to lower that placement on the N. Even versus even, more even.
All that dirty.
All that. I wouldn't have that pause between that and dirty. I would really try to keep that pause to a minimum, like all that dirty. I said all that dirty, more all that dirty, because I don't think you're likely to get a pause there.
Dirty.
And again, dirty instead of dirty, more dirty. But I did like your long I sound at the end. So again, the way I would say it, the city isn't even all that dirty.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
I know how you get that way, like D. Like I can't even do that right. So I do commend you on that as well. Thank you for sharing your audio. We do appreciate it. How about our next one here?
The city isn't even all that dirty.
It's like that little like at the end.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Dirty. I want to hear that again.
The city.
The city. I think it sounds pretty good. I'm okay with that.
Isn't even.
I want to hear that isn't even.
The city isn't even.
The city isn't even. I like that linking between city and isn't. I think that sounds pretty good there.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
All that dirty. I want to hear dirty, dar.
All that dirty.
I said dad. It's more dir. Try to just get that placement just a little bit lower in the throat. I said daddy, more dirty, dirty, dirty. Just a little bit lower on the placement there. But in general, I think there's lots to like here. So again, the city isn't even all that dirty.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Let's listen to our next one here. Then we'll take a quick break, see if I'm missing anything.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
I think the big thing here is going to be that R sound again on dirty. So again, that dirty, more dirty, dirty.
Dirty. The city isn't even all that dirty.
Dirty versus dirty. Door, more dir. Really a little lower in the throat. Okay. And more relaxed. It sounds very tense. Try to get a little more relaxed. Dir. I'm going to hear that again.
The city isn't.
Hold the E sound just a little longer. It says city. More city.
The city.
It says city. More city. Just hold that E sound.
Isn't even all.
Maybe also for isn't even, more short I. So it's more, it's a isn't, it's more isn't.
City isn't even.
Isn't. It could be a placement thing too. Just again, try to get a little lower. Isn't.
City isn't even.
Isn't.
All that dirty.
All that. I want to hear the linking.
City isn't even all that dirty.
All that dirt. I would try to speed up maybe also your places where there's not much stress. Like isn't even all that dirty. Isn't even all that. Isn't even all that. Could be sped up just a little faster. You don't have to do that. Okay, to be clear, different people speak different ways with different speeds and things like that. But I think one thing that could help with this section here is just reducing a little bit more, speaking up a little bit faster. So again, my suggestion would be the city isn't even all that dirty.
The city isn't even all that dirty. The city.
Okay, so that'd be my recommendations. Thank you, as always, for sharing your audio. Take a quick look and make sure I'm not missing anything crazy in the chat. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. What I'm doing, basically, I'm listening to this video every day in shadow. Hey, Cool stuff. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great strategy. You know, listening to videos like this every day and shadowing. I mean, that's my biggest suggestion is shadowing. 5 minutes a day of shadowing. It's something that I wish I did more often. You know, but yeah, I think it's really important. Yeah, and that's I think you're doing all the right things. Yeah, tons of videos of shadowing. Loving the city. That little cough part at the end of the city part. That's the thing, like when I'm listening to these, like before I like send them with you, because I want to check the files just to make sure I'm not sending you guys crazy files like over the internet. That's not something you want. But yeah, some of them are wild. Much agreed here. The people that send in those audio files, I think any file, to all of you guys who have sent in audio files, including you, Miami. Again, I really do appreciate you guys sending in your audios. Again, I can't do this without you. This is a team effort. We're all part of the same team. Yeah. 24/7 shadowing vid is still going on. In fact, after the stream ends, that's where I'm going to be sending you guys to. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, cool. I appreciate that. Yeah, let me know what dialogues you found most helpful. That is helpful for me. Okay, that's helpful for me. Yeah, we don't have the singing guy, unfortunately. Z, thank you so much for checking in with us. I really do appreciate that. Okay, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 more audios to run through. I have about 5 minutes before my class. So we're going to continue with our lightning mode. I want to share my screen. And audio. Okay, let's take a look at this one.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
And that's actually one we just listened to. Next up.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Okay, Denny, I think this is you, right?
The city isn't even all that dirty.
I like your stresses are sounding much less exaggerated to me, which is great. Some little things.
The city is.
How about that? It says city. Can you get a little bit more long I on the end? So it's not city, more city, city. And it's tricky, okay? As you're doing that long I at the end, try not to make it long I everywhere. You don't want to say city. It's more city, city. Really trying to get that short I, long I, short I, long I. E. Might be helpful just to say those first, like e, then say city afterwards, like e, city, city, like combinations like that.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Isn't even all that dirty.
Even all that dirty.
Mm-hmm. And dirty, I would say, again, for the R sound, maybe just try to lower the placement just a little bit. I think it's pretty close, but just a little bit more relaxed and lower.
Dirty.
One again.
City isn't even all that dirty.
I like you have this like all that. It's very punchy. It's linked with kind of like held sounds, which is good. I think it makes it sound a little bit more emphatic, but I'm okay with that. All that dirty. The city isn't even all that dirty.
Even all that dirty.
All that dirty.
All that dirty.
All that dirty. One thing you could even make it do. One thing you could do to make it sound even a little bit more emphatic is raising the pitch slightly on the first syllable of dirty. So instead of all that dirty, or all that dirty, all that dirty. So trying to keep all in dirty at about the same pitch level. All that dirty.
All that dirty.
Because right now it sounds a little bit lower, but I would say raise it a little bit. All that dirty. Isn't even all that dirty. Yeah, so those would be my comments there. I like a lot of what you're doing here. I think it sounds good.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
Yeah, so just pay attention to the things that we just mentioned about some of the placement there and the long I sounds, and also stress. But yeah, great work. I really like that. Thank you for sending that. Next file, really quick.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
So fast.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
You're not giving your vowels enough time to breathe. That's actually what one of our last videos talked about. That I think would be helpful. I'll post this afterwards in the chat. But I would like you to hold your vowel sounds longer because you're kind of cutting yourself off a little bit, especially towards the end. So pay attention to like city.
The city.
Do you hear that? City versus city.
The city.
City versus city. So hold your vowel sounds longer, especially like that final vowel, that long I. City.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
And again, on dirty, I would recommend the same thing, holding it a little longer.
Even all that dirty.
Dirty. I would even just hold that E sound at the end of dirty, just a touch longer. You know, I like a lot of what you're doing. I think your stresses are good. I think the linking is good. I think the reductions are good. I like your pace. I'm okay with the sped up parts, you know, for the parts that aren't stressed.
The city isn't even all that dirty.
I really like that. Isn't even all that. I think that sounds supernatural. Isn't even all that. I really like that part. I think you nailed the vowel sounds. I think you got the speed right. I think you got the reductions right. But for your stressed words, hold those vowel sounds just a little bit longer. Would be my big recommendation. Okay. And in fact, let me. I'm going to send you a video. Again, that kind of just talks about that more. Okay. Because that is a really key concept. Got 2 minutes to go through one more file. I think I can make it. One second. It's this one. So again, it was more. It's using Indian pronunciation because I was looking at Dilip Joshi, but I think there's things here that can go. That can be really helpful for lengthening vowel sounds. Yeah, if I go super far, I might go against my net. I would say experiment. You know, there's nothing wrong with experimenting. Try it really high, try it really low. I think getting used to moving it around in different places is really helpful. Get to know what it feels like to have high placement. Get to know what it feels like to have low placement. I think that's really key. Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's not just about deep voice. You can have deep voice but tense. You know, and that's gonna you could do like an e like sound like that. You know, where it's low placement but it's super tense. Yeah, and vice versa. Okay, really quick. I got one more file. Our last one. I'm trying to rush through it. Oh my gosh, my next student, he's gonna have to be a little patient. I think he'll be understanding. So this is the one we looked at. Last audio for today.
Come on, man. The cities ain't even all that dirty. Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Man, do you like the and sound? And it breaks into 2 parts. Great.
The cities ain't even.
This lower your placement on city a little bit. It's not city. It's more city.
The cities ain't even all.
City, because I'm hearing city isn't versus city isn't. Try and get that placement just a little lower.
That dirty.
And the same thing on dirty, dir. I said dirty, more dirty. Lower placement on the dirty. But in terms of pace, again, I like it. In terms of linking and reductions, cool, especially in the middle of the sentence.
Oh man, the cities ain't even all that dirty.
Yeah, my
on,
biggest thing
man.
is I forgot about the last one. But yeah, my biggest thing would be about the placement for those things. Yeah. Okay, guys, I do need to run, but as always, thank you so much for spending part of your weekend with me. I cannot do this without you. I forgot about the last comment, man. It really caught me off guard. Thank you guys for spending some time with me. I'm sorry we don't have our normal setup, but this is hopefully pleasing enough for you. I hope you enjoy this wall over here in this closet door of my aunt's house. As always, if you want to get practice like this every single day of the week, you can check out our Patreon group at patreon.com/fluentamerican to join our group on Telegram, where we do similar exercises to this. Otherwise, I will see you guys in next week, where we take a look at more of your pronunciation files, as we are always targeting your pronunciation. Thank you guys so much. Miami, thank you for contributing as native speakers. Thank you to Z. Thank you to Denny, Emmanuel. Who else am I missing? Douglas, Zabeda for checking in earlier. And for those I'm missing, and for those who checked in at any moment, I do appreciate it. Thank you guys for your time. I will see you in a future video. Have a good day, have a good night, a good afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and take care.